Far left. Inside your kit, you'll have a receiver switch that is operated off the third channel, an extension lead to pretty much reach anywhere you need to on the car. Here is going to be the ignition wire that you're feeding the rocket positive negative leads into, the electronic ignition leads into, and we also include an LED light for pre-system and assembly testing prior to any ignition that might happen. Here is what is also included in the split or the double barrels, both C and F class. It's a Y harness, so you're still using the single switch. You'll get an additional lead so that you then have 2 points of contact for the electronic igniter, and the third class of that would be a 2-stage. You'll also receive another RX switch and along with that a second lead. Getting a little further into the electronics assembly, we have separate power sources for each of the R2 examples. You can also, for most RCers out there, you run it off of the power lead off the BEC off the ESC. So that could also be your power source. Obviously you're using your battery, but I'm going to put this off to the side for now. Here we're just going to plug in the external power source to channel 4 for now. The switch obviously is going to be into channel 3. And then from there we'll get into the testing of your switch, which is crucial inside of many other steps that are going to come further down the road. External power source powering the receiver. You have no connection to the controller right now. It'll signal a blinking light. As I power on the controller and it gains signal, you should see the light go off, and that's going to signify that the switch is in deactive or non-connected at the moment. If you don't know already, when you bind your third channel, set up your third channel. This one's set up on a toggle switch, meaning anytime the button is pressed, you have signal to the switch, activating the third channel, therefore activating the burn or the ignition. And the Fly Sky here, it's a little bit different. Once you press the third channel switch, it's going to turn on the switch and leave it on, and then when you press it again, it'll turn it off and then kill the ignition, so that when you go to reload, you're not looking at a live circuit, which I'll show you how to test in just a second. So here we're going to demonstrate third channel activation. This is a toggle scenario. This means it's safe to, at that point, reload your second rocket engine. Also on the toggle, you'll notice that there is a red light or LED indicator on the switch activating at the same time that the circuit goes live. If you feel the need, and it's going to make it easier for you to identify this using any other system, go ahead and peel this label off of the heat shrink that's surrounding that circuit, and that way you'll be able to get a clue of whether or not it's safe to reload or start your load. So for the majority of the controllers out there, you're going to be dealing with something very much like the GT3, which is your third channel is going to be an on-off switch. So setting up the same power structure, we have just a power source going into channel 3, same switch, same light. I'm going to then toggle channel 3 off of the GT3, and you're going to see that both LED lights are ignited. This means it's unsafe to operate, or it's in the fire mode. When you toggle it back, it switches it back off. This is safe to load. This is also safe to set up, and it's one of the crucial points inside of the system as you check the inside window of the barrel. This is a quick little wiring diagram of what we have for each of the double barrel, both the C class and the F class. Same power source, same controller. This is off of the Noble, which has the toggle switch. One switch, and I'm going to activate it. Hands off, nothing's going on. Toggle on. As long as I hold the third channel, both channels are active. This is going to ignite the electronic ignition. For the higher end systems, the Nobles, the Futabas and whatnot that have a 4-channel, you can also buy an additional RX switch, and then you can then utilize what is considered a 2-stage rocket. Third stage, or first stage being the third channel, activating a single rocket at one time, and then further down the run you can then activate your 4-channel by hitting your whatever you assigned as your 4-channel activation. Again, this is a toggle switch scenario, not an on-off switch scenario. So if you are a 4-channel using a 2-stage and you have a different controller, you want to make sure when you're done with the run that you switch both of your channel 3 and 4 back off. But we'll take you through the full setup inside of a package. Because you're going to have 2 different motors. Here's the rocket. This is the burned end. This is the exhaust end, or back side of the blowout. These little stoppers help hold your wires in place. This is the ignition end. As you place it in, you want to make sure that these 2 wires are not touching inside to create the short circuit up here on this like waxy tip. Slide it in and then insert your plug until it's full depth and it holds everything in place. If you're doing a few of these before your runs, you can go ahead and pre-bend them. I just pull the paper off at a straight angle. I give a little bit of a maybe 1/8 of an inch bend on each wire, pinching them with a set of pliers so that they insert nicely into the wire head. A little bit of a pinch, and about halfway down you're going to want to bend them down to a 90-degree point. That's about as much prep work as you need on a rocket. With the safety side of your ignition or your motor, your thruster, everything's unplugged, but I wanted to show you the basic interaction of how your prep on the rocket is going to interface with the inside of the internals of the assembly. So basically you'd be looking at the rocket as it is here in the field. You're going to slide the rocket motor down, and your points that you have prepared will then drop into the grooves, and at this point polarity does not matter. It's just a circuit that you're going to create a short in when igniting the 3rd channel or 4th channel as well. So getting into the fun part, the assembly of the rocket kit, it's very simple. Orientation of the switch, the receiver switch, is pretty critical. The LED is not visible from the back side of this. Then again, future comment or previous comment was you can remove this cover, just the label itself, if you want to be able to see it more clear. It's going to align to the bottom window, the transparent window right there, and you'll be able to see on the inside when your switch is active and not active based on the LED. We'll show that later. Your orientation is also going to be your 3rd channel switch feeding through the bottom end, and then your connector unit will also fit pretty snugly into this little compartment. And all I'm doing with my thumbs, I know my fingers are all up in the way, but I'm just trying to orientate the wire so that we get this headed down toward the rear end of the rocket. The flat portion of this wire faces up, and then the ribs on this, the connector itself actually slide into a channel, and you can hear, you may have actually been able to hear that snap into place. So again, from here it's just a matter of a little bit of wire manipulation to get the case to fit completely covered. If you feel the need, you can also put in a couple of small pieces of either duct tape or Gorilla Tape, just so that when you go to put the top cover on, your wires aren't dancing around inside of that small compartment. So with everything pressed down, I didn't utilize any tape. What I'm going to do is show a maneuver that helps you keep that compartment nice and organized. This is the single C. I'm going to start from one end, just slide it over, make sure nothing moves. It's a nice flat surface on the bottom of this barrel, so at any point in time if there's any snags it'll become evident, but with a little compression you can see that all your surfaces line up, and at that point you just insert your flat heads to the tip. Some haters out there will not approve of me using electric tools. Just don't crank it down. This is PLA material, so don't over tighten anything. It just needs to be to the point of where it's snug. That's the symbol of the rocket housing. So before I go any further, again, I'm going to do a safety measure here. This is for testing. This is also for your information. As we set the orientation of this wire in, you know that the shiny side was facing up and the step side was facing down, so we're black here, negative, positive, red on the right. We've shortened our lead for the LED light so that we can also get this inside the frame. I would suggest you go ahead and do the same. Also prepare your wires with a little bit of a solder so that they enter in on multiple occasions into the switch without any issues. So here we have a non-loaded, safe rocket to test. I'm going to activate the third channel and signify that we're getting the ignition wire to power source, as well as you can see inside the window that LED. Again, if you want to take the tape off, go ahead for more clarity, but this is a safe rocket to now complete assembly, and we'll test again one more time before we load. Ready to put the back plate on or complete the assembly of the rocket module. This is kind of a universal kit, which includes one of the varied 5 variable mounting points. If you're mounting to a flat surface, then you would want to put this plate on and then possibly use this to do the compression to your surface, or just bolt directly into that. The back plate does need to be compressed at full with all 4 mounts so that you don't have any blowback from the pressure. What we're going to do today is include the universal mount on this install, and you'll be able to see when the universal systems come into play. The compression plates will then interface with that correctly. So it's super easy. Don't over tighten. This is an area that at some point in time down the road, I would say after 20 ignitions, you might want to check to see if there's any carbon buildup. So again, it's just a matter of backing out these 4 screws, cleaning out the exhaust channel. That's the full assembly. So the rear assembly is actually pretty easy, or the adjustable bracket assembly is pretty easy. I'm going to take my supplied hardware. We have 2 25mm and 2 20mm M3 screws with hex nuts. This is applicable to your flat face mount, your rear tower mount, possibly body mount. Also another scenario where you can trim at any point in time to interface with your vehicle or your specific vehicle. We're going to show you a DR10 body. We're going to show you a slash body or frame that we've mounted to, so that you can actually take advantage of trimming these, utilizing the hardware to go through at any point in time where it's going to make best contact to a stable surface. So with your nut fully seated, very easy. Take the M5. Start on the adjustable bracket mount point. Don't pinch that wire. Now you have an adjustable rocket mount. Commenting back on the attachment points with the brackets, standard 3/32 drill bit is slightly smaller than an M3, or most RCers out there have a reamer. Just be careful not to ream out too big of a hole. So for our examples in the models, we've drilled it out. The M3 was sent through. With your longer frames on the T and the U, you can also use multiple attachment points if you feel the need. But in our testing, 2 was stable enough for all of our vehicles. So this is an example of the F double single switch with the Y connector. The tape is in play just to hold the wiring down. Again, it's going to disappear, be taken away as I put the base cover back in, just so we don't have any leaks or broken seals. So here, your 2 igniters in play. They position into the grooves, flat side facing technically to the bottom of the rocket unit. Those go down to the Y connector. The Y connector is bridged over to the back of the RX switch. The LED light, this is an example of one that we've removed the cover or the label of the switch off, so that the LED light is going to then shine appropriately through the window. This lead then placed through the bottom hole, and again at this point you want to do your best to remove the tape, get it out of the way. It was basically just for demonstration purposes or temporary placeholders, and then you'll see that this goes into place. That's how you assemble the single switch, double C and double F. So this is an example of the 3rd and 4th channel dual rocket C or F dual switch. So if you're doing a 2-stage setup, here I would have, let's say, channel 3 or stage 1 going to its own RF switch, LED. This is the example I mentioned earlier, but with the sticker off. This is stage 2 or channel 4 coming to a wire lead. The tape is just to hold it in place while I explain it. And then the LED, this is the example of one still with the label on, is facing toward the bottom housing or the windows on the unit. You would then feed your wires through the single port on the bottom of the plate. Pull your tabs, remove your tape, and then close up the back of your case. And again, you'll be able to actually see the lights on both of the windows for this unit. So this is the 2-stage dual switch C and D, or C and F motor. A rolling test of it, same safety check. Looking for the LED indicating on is firing, off is safe to load. The field reloading process of a rocket from a burnt one to a new one should take you honestly less than a minute. Again, feeling for the bent wire tip to engage with the receiving end. Set and ready. Tighten down your grub.